Imagine this for a second. You're on a train, maybe the Jobin line, just rattling along towards Tokyo. It's late afternoon. You're kind of zoned out, just staring out the window at the suburbs rushing by. The absolute definition of a normal, everyday commute.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
That autopilot mode where everything just becomes, background noise.
Exactly. But then you see the sunset between a couple of buildings. The sky is just this deep burning orange, and all of a sudden that totally mundane view just hits you differently. You feel this wave of gratitude. It feels almost miraculous.
It's a really powerful image to start with.
Yeah.
In the story we're getting into today, that moment on the train, it isn't just about a pretty sunset. It's the fallout, both physical and psychological, from a huge personal shift. Because the person looking out that window had just that morning been standing on the highest point in all of Japan.
We are talking about climbing Mount Fuji. But before you think, okay, another travel guide, just hold on. This deep dive is based on a really fascinating blog post by an author who calls himself Ask. And here's the thing, Ask isn't some, rugged mountaineer.
Not at all, and that's what makes his story so relatable.
Right. Ask is a physics major who now works in IT. He was born in '97, so he's pretty young. And he openly says his perfect weekend is like reading in a quiet cafe or relaxing at a spa. He calls himself an indoor kid.
Which is precisely why his account is so valuable. This is the learner perspective, pure and simple. He's not trying to conquer the mountain or set a record. He's just doing it because of this vague idea that, well, he should probably do it once in his lifetime.
And today, that's our mission. We're going to unpack his journey. And it's not just about the how-to of climbing the mountain, though we will get to that. We want to understand how a grueling physical challenge can completely rewire a logical, physics-minded brain to appreciate, boring stuff like paved roads and tap water.
It's absolutely a journey from the physical to the philosophical. And for a physics guy, I'm sure it was a lesson in gravity and energy that he won't be forgetting anytime soon.
So let's start where a lot of big adventures start, with some pretty bad planning.
Or at least a failure to really grasp the friction of the real world. Asker mentions he actually tried to do this the year before. He had the idea, I want to climb Fuji, but he fell into that classic trap of underestimating the logistics. He waited too long to book a mountain hut.
I can feel that. You just think it's a huge mountain. There must be tons of space. It's not like trying to get a dinner reservation, right?
But it is. The huts are small, the climbing season is super short, basically just July and August, and everybody wants to go. So by the time he got around to it, everything was completely booked. Game over.
So the next year, he's determined. He finds a workaround. He books something called the Sunshine Tour. It's a package deal, the Yoshida Trail, 1 night, 3 days.
And that's a really smart move for a beginner. We talk about removing friction. For someone new to this, the barrier of what gear do I need or how do I even get there is huge. By outsourcing the gear rental and the guide to a tour, he basically eliminates all that friction.
He just had to show up with the small stuff, like his toothbrush and some snacks. The heavy lifting was handled. He even got boots and rain gear as part of the deal.
That's so important. Who wants to buy expensive mountaineering boots for a one-time trip? Renting just makes it accessible.
But even with all that handled, just getting there is an ordeal. He's on a night bus from Tokyo Station at 9 p.m. Now, sleeping on a bus is tough enough. But before a massive physical challenge.
It's not a great start. He gets to this spa center, Hana no Yu, at 1 in the morning. And, spa center sounds nice, but let's be real about what these places are.
Yeah.
He's not getting a private room.
No, he's in a common area, probably on a recliner or the floor, surrounded by a bunch of other climbers who are all just as anxious as he is.
He says he was dozing more than actually sleeping. Just terrible quality rest. So when he wakes up at 5:30 a.m., he is not at 100%. He's starting this thing already deep in a sleep deficit.
So let's paint the picture. He's sleep-deprived, he's an indoor kid, and he's about to climb a 3,776-meter volcano. But interestingly, the mood seems to shift once the day actually begins. He talks about these little pre-climb rituals that kind of get him in the right headspace.
Yeah, that's the transition from being a tourist to being more of a pilgrim. He visits a shrine, the Fujisan Hongu Sengen Taisha, and then heads up to the 5th station. And there's a specific detail he brings up, the Kamatake Shrine.
Oh, right. He gets something there, doesn't he?
He gets these limited edition paper cutouts. They're called kiri. It's a small thing, but it acts as this tangible marker that the journey has officially begun.
I love that. It's almost like a video game. You're collecting tokens before you go fight the boss. It makes the goal feel more concrete. Okay, I've got the token, now I have to keep going.
It does. But then the boots hit the gravel. And this is where the physicist in him starts to really notice the brutal reality of the terrain.
The climb from the 5th to the 7th station, it sounds just awful.
Awful is a good word for it. It's all loose gravel. Ask describes it so well. Your feet sink in, you slide back a little with every single step. It is so inefficient.
It's like walking on a really steep beach.
Exactly. It forces you to use all these little stabilizer muscles you never use. Your calves are on fire. Your balance is shot. It just drains your energy way faster than walking on a solid path.
And that's just the start. When they get to the 7th station, everything changes again. It turns into actual rock climbing. He's on all fours.
And this is where we have to look at the numbers he provides. I found this fascinating. He actually tracks the attrition rate of his tour group. And it illustrates the difficulty better than I ever could.
I love that he kept count. What are the stats?
Okay, so they started with 27 people. By the time they get to the 7th station, and that's not even the really high part yet, 2 people had already quit.
Huh. So that's what, 8% of the group gone before it even gets serious?
It gets so much worse. By the time they reached the 8th station where their hut was, 11 of the remaining 25 were showing signs of altitude sickness, or were in what the guide called the danger zone.
Wow. That's almost half the group that's left, just struggling.
Altitude sickness is no joke. It's not just feeling winded. It's a splitting headache, nausea, dizziness. Your body is basically panicking because it's not getting enough oxygen. For an indoor kid like Aska, this is a massive shock to the system.
It really hammers home that this isn't a theme park, it's a hostile environment, you can't just hit a button and get off. But even with all that struggle, there's this moment of rest at the 8th station that sounds incredible.
A contrast is everything. You need that suffering to appreciate the relief. He's physically destroyed, but he visits a couple of small shrines there, and he looks down and sees the city lights.
Right, he calls them scattered jewels.
And then comes the ultimate prize, a draft beer at the mountain hut.
Oh man, I can only imagine. He says that one beer just made all the fatigue disappear. Biochemically, that must just be a massive dopamine hit.
It's the perfect reward, but it's also kind of a trap, because the hardest part is still to come. The beer gives you a moment of peace, but the summit push is waiting for you.
The summit push, this is the part that always gets me in these stories. You don't get a full night's sleep, not even close.
Nope. They wake up at 1 a.m., and remember, he's in a packed hut, shoulder to shoulder with strangers, listening to a symphony of snoring. He barely slept at all.
So he's running on fumes from the night before, plus maybe a short nap in a noisy room. And this is where that attrition rate really bites.
It does. Out of that original group, only 14 people actually continued on to the summit. 11 people stayed behind at the hut.
So they went from 27 all the way down to 14. That's basically a 50% failure rate. That's huge.
Exactly. It really frames the achievement for those who kept going. You step out of the hut. It's pitch black, headlamps on. And Ask describes this beautiful image. He sees the line of all the climbers' lights stretching up the mountain like a ribbon of light going up to heaven.
That's beautiful, like a pilgrimage of fireflies.
It is. And he looks up and sees the stars. And he has this really interesting thought. He wonders if the lack of oxygen is making the stars look brighter, or if they really are that much clearer up there.
Is that a real thing? Does hypoxia make you see stars better?
Well, scientifically, the air is thinner, so there's less atmospheric distortion, so they are objectively brighter. But I'm sure the hypoxia adds a sort of dreamlike, maybe even hallucinatory quality to it all. But that romance is quickly replaced by the reality of the temperature.
It's freezing.
Brutal. Before dawn, at that altitude, the wind just slices right through you. Ask is cold, he's exhausted, and he's just waiting. This isn't some comfortable spiritual moment. It's just an endurance test.
But then, the pork soup.
The tanjiru. He calls it the most delicious soup he's ever had in his life.
I love how basic food becomes transcendent in these extreme situations. It's just pork and miso, but in that context, it's basically life support.
It gives him the calories and the warmth he needs for the main event. Koreko. The sunrise.
The climax.
Yeah.
He's standing there waiting. The sky starts to change color. And then the sun, this red orb, just breaks the horizon.
And what stands out to me is it's not just the visual. I mean, we've all seen pictures of a sunrise. It's the feeling. Being a physics guy, he focuses on the energy transfer. He talks about the immediate physical warmth of the sunlight hitting his frozen body.
That feeling, going from shivering cold to actually feeling the sun's heat on your skin, that must be incredible. You can feel the physics of it.
He says the whole crowd gives this sort of quiet cheer. He sees the sea of clouds below him, and he just describes it as pure bliss. The feeling that all the pain, all the suffering, it was all worth it. It was all paid back in that one moment.
That's the hook of mountaineering, isn't it? That single moment where the whole equation balances. All the pain you put in equals the beauty you get out.
But as any climber will tell you, the summit is only the halfway point.
Ugh, the descent. He does not sugarcoat this part.
No. A lot of climbers say the descent is actually worse. You're using different muscles. It's brutal on your knees. And on Fuji, you have the famous Tsunobashiri, the sand run.
Yeah, I've seen videos of this. You're basically skiing down volcanic ash.
Pretty much. It's slippery, it's
Yeah.
dusty, it's
Yeah.
endless. He says he fell over and over again. And it's a mental battle, too, because the adrenaline from the summit is gone. The goal is done, but you still got hours of misery left. You just want it to be over.
But getting back down is actually where the deep dive part of his story really begins, because while his body is screaming at him, his mind starts making all these connections about, well, about the ordinary.
This is the section of his blog that really elevates it. He starts deconstructing his entire reality, and he starts with the sun.
Right. He says, look, we all learn in school that the sun rises in the east. It's a fact. It's just data.
But knowing that fact and feeling that sunrise are two completely different things. He realized that the sun warming the earth wasn't just a daily event, it was something he now felt this deep gratitude for, because he had experienced the desperate need for its warmth.
And then he moves on to water. This part really got me. He talks about the price of water on the mountain.
A 500 milliliter bottle for 600 yen. And it costs 300 yen just to use the toilet.
Which, if you saw that in a vending machine in the city, you'd be furious. You'd be on social media complaining about price gouging.
Exactly. But up on the mountain, his whole perspective flips. He doesn't see an expensive bottle of water. He sees the labor. He realizes somebody had to physically carry that bottle up a volcano, fighting gravity the whole way, just so he could have a drink.
That is a massive shift. Instead of complaining about the cost, he's thinking, thank you for bringing this here. He's actually seeing the supply chain.
And that leads to the biggest realization, the one that I think really speaks to his engineering mind: infrastructure.
This is my favorite part. He's sliding down this awful, chaotic gravel path, falling down, getting covered in dust, and he suddenly has this profound appreciation for pavement.
Pavement, asphalt, the stuff we think is ugly and boring.
We walk on it every single day and never give it a second thought. We complain if there's a little crack in it.
He realizes that a flat, paved road is an absolute luxury. It's a triumph of engineering over chaos. Nature wants uneven surfaces and rocks. Someone worked incredibly hard to create a world where we don't have to scramble over things just to go to the store.
He says the mountain taught him that our comfortable environment is just the result of somebody else's effort that we've all gotten used to.
It's that idea that convenience is completely invisible until it's taken away. The normal tap water at home suddenly feels like a miracle because it's instant and cheap. The flat sidewalk is a blessing because it isn't trying to break your ankle.
I love that. He went up the mountain to see something extraordinary, but he came down with a newfound love for the completely ordinary.
That is the core message. The climb didn't just change his view from the summit. It changed his view from the train window. That sunset on the Joban line looked different because he was different. His entire baseline for gratitude had been reset.
It's like you have to introduce a little bit of voluntary suffering just to recalibrate your happiness sensors.
That's a great way to put it. We all get used to things, the air conditioning, the easy food delivery. Climbing Fuji just stripped all of that away for 2 days, and when he got it back, it felt brand new.
So wrapping up his journey, he has some final advice for anyone listening who might be thinking about this.
He does. He has a practical tip about getting the gashuan, those red ink stamps from the shrines.
Oh, right. He collected them at all the different stations in the summit.
It's a great physical record of the journey, but his main takeaway is much simpler. Just do it.
Even if you're an indoor kid who likes spas.
Especially then. He says if you have even a tiny desire, just a little spark of curiosity, you should go for it. Not just for the view, but to rediscover how brilliant your normal daily life is when you get back down.
That's a really compelling argument. We tend to think of adventure as an escape from reality, but
Right.
what Ask is suggesting is that it's actually a way to fall back in love with your reality.
Well put.
So here's a thought for you, our listener. You might not be booking a flight to Japan today. You might not even like hiking. But just think about your day so far.
Think about the conveniences. The water that just came out of your tap, hot or cold, whenever you wanted. The room you're in right now that's a perfect temperature, no matter what it's like outside.
The paved road that let you get to work without even thinking about it.
What if those were gone? What invisible luxuries are you looking right past every single day?
Sometimes you have to climb a mountain just to see the ground you're standing on.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.